They called her weak, laughed behind her back, and thought she'd never fight back. But she stayed silent, waiting for the perfect moment. Tonight, her revenge will shatter their pride, expose their lies, and leave them with nothing. This isn't just betrayal, it's payback. I used to believe love made people stronger. I thought it gave you courage, that it healed every wound. Maybe that's why when he came into my life, I gave him everything without holding back. He wasn't just a boyfriend, to me, he was the person I thought I'd spend forever with. Every look, every smile, every word from him felt like it belonged to a storybook. I let myself fall, hard and fast, because I trusted him with all of me. And it wasn't just him. My closest friend was always beside me, a constant since childhood, the one I trusted with my secrets, the one I believed would protect me no matter what. Together, they were the two people I valued more than anyone else in this world. My love and my loyalty were divided between them, and I thought I was blessed beyond measure. How many people get to say they found both love and friendship in the same season of life? In the beginning, it felt flawless. He would hold me close, whispering promises about the future, and she would laugh and tease us, her presence making me feel like we were part of something bigger. When we were all together, I believed nothing could ever touch us. They were my world, and I never questioned whether I was theirs. But love blinds you. It makes you ignore the shadows at the edges, the details that don't fit, the glances that linger too long. I didn't want to see the way his eyes sometimes wandered toward her when he thought I wasn't looking. I didn't want to notice how her smile seemed brighter whenever he was around. Those were dangerous thoughts, and I refused to let myself believe them. I didn't want to be paranoid. I didn't want to be the kind of person who doubted the people she loved most. So I excused the little things. When he canceled a date last minute, I told myself he was just tired. When she said she was too busy to hang out, I told myself she had her own life. When I walked into a room and found them whispering before they fell silent, I laughed it off as if it meant nothing. Because it was easier to believe in love than to face the possibility of betrayal. I gave and gave, because that's what I thought love and friendship were supposed to be. I stayed up late to comfort him, even when my own eyes were heavy with exhaustion. I shared my last dollar with her, stood by her side when no one else did, defended her when others criticized her. I thought loyalty was its own reward, that if I poured enough love into the people I cared for, they would give it back. But cracks began to appear. His phone, once left unattended, became something he guarded fiercely. She started pulling away from me, her excuses piling higher, her laughter ringing hollow. Their words were still sweet, but their eyes told me something else. The more I searched for comfort, the more I found myself alone. At night, I would lie in bed replaying every detail of our days together, every moment that didn't sit right. Why did he seem so distracted when I spoke? Why did she always rush to answer his texts before mine? Why did I feel like an outsider in what was supposed to be my own story? But every time the questions grew too loud, I silenced them. I told myself I was imagining things. I told myself that true love required trust, that real friendship required patience. I told myself everything except the truth, because I was too afraid to hear it. And maybe that was my weakness. I was so desperate to hold on to the happiness I thought I had, I ignored the obvious signs that it was already gone. I chose illusions over reality, lies over suspicion, because believing was easier than knowing. They must have laughed at me. I can see it now, the way they probably whispered behind my back, mocking the girl who trusted too much, the girl who was too blind to see. Maybe that's why their betrayal would hurt more than anything else in my life. Because I had defended them against every shadow, even the ones they cast themselves. He would kiss me, but his lips felt colder than before. She would call me her best friend, but her words carried a distance I couldn't name. I felt them slipping away from me, and yet I clung harder, because I didn't know who I was without them. I thought being loyal would keep them close. I thought being forgiving would make them stay. I remember one night when I sat alone, the silence of my room pressing down on me. My phone stayed dark, no calls, no texts. And for the first time, I allowed myself to think the words I had been avoiding. What if the people I love most are betraying me? The thought made my chest tighten, my stomach twist. I wanted to push it away, but once it entered my mind, it refused to leave. Still, I smiled when I saw them. Still, I laughed at their jokes. Still, I played the role of the trusting girlfriend and the loyal friend. Because admitting the truth felt like tearing my own heart out. If I accused them and I was wrong, I'd destroy everything. And if I accused them and I was right, then I'd lose them forever. So I stayed silent. I swallowed the unease, the questions, the growing pain. I chose to love them louder than the doubts screaming in my chest. And maybe that's why they thought I was weak. Maybe that's why they believed they could get away with it. But weakness has layers. Sometimes it's not weakness at all. Sometimes it's patience. Sometimes it's a strength so quiet that no one sees it coming until it's too late. I didn't know it then, but every tear I shed, every night I spent doubting myself, every time I ignored my instincts, they were sharpening something inside me. For now, I was still in the dark, still clinging to the idea that love could save me, that friendship could protect me. I didn't know that the two people I trusted most were already holding the knife that would cut me open. But life has a way of showing the truth, no matter how carefully it's hidden. And when the truth finally came, it would change everything. They thought I was too weak to ever fight back. They thought I'd break, cry, and walk away quietly. But they were wrong. I might have been blind, I might have been naive, but the moment they chose to betray me was the moment they created the person who would make them regret it. The uneasy feeling that haunted me in Act 1 didn't go away, it grew stronger with every passing day. At first, I told myself it was just insecurity, the natural fear of losing something precious. But fear only sharpens when it's ignored, and mine sharpened into something I couldn't silence anymore. It started small, the little things that didn't add up. He stopped answering my calls with the same warmth as before. His voice, once filled with energy, now sounded distant, rushed, almost annoyed. When I asked about his day, he would give me short answers, avoiding details. She, on the other hand, grew quieter around me too, her excuses piling higher each week. We used to spend hours together, laughing about nothing, but now she seemed to always be in a hurry. Whenever I asked if she was okay, she would smile too quickly and say everything was fine. I wanted to believe her. I wanted to believe both of them. But my instincts whispered otherwise. One night, I walked past them unexpectedly in the hallway. Their voices were hushed, their bodies angled close, their laughter too intimate. The moment they noticed me, silence fell, and they stepped back. He muttered something about just joking around, and she smiled like nothing happened. I tried to smile back, but deep inside, I felt a crack widening in my chest. After that, I couldn't stop noticing. The way he put his phone face down whenever I entered the room. The way she glanced at him when she thought I wasn't watching. The way conversations ended the second I arrived. Each little detail carved deeper into me, but still, I stayed quiet. Maybe I was afraid of confirming what I already suspected. The moment of truth came when I least expected it. One evening, I asked to borrow his phone because mine had died. He hesitated, just for a second, but it was long enough to shatter me. He forced a smile, handed it over, and left the room too quickly. My hands trembled as I held it, torn between loyalty and the desperate need for answers. I told myself I wouldn't look. I told myself I trusted him. But the truth was louder than my promises. It only took seconds. A single notification appeared before my eyes, her name, followed by a heart emoji. My chest tightened. Against every part of me screaming not to, I opened the message. And there it was. Words so cruel they burned into me forever. They laughed about me. Called me gullible. Said I was too weak to notice anything. She wrote, "She actually thinks you're with her. Poor thing." He replied with, "She'll never find out. She's too pathetic to suspect." The phone nearly slipped from my hand. My stomach turned cold, my throat closing around the breath I couldn't take. I felt my heart breaking in real time, as if each word in their conversation was a knife carving me open. I read more, though every part of me wanted to stop. Messages filled with lies, plans they made behind my back, moments they shared while pretending to care for me. And worst of all, their laughter, laughing at me, mocking the love I had given so freely. I wanted to scream, to confront them both right there and then. I wanted to demand why, how, when. But no sound came out of me. Instead, I put the phone down carefully, as if handling something poisonous. My body shook, tears blurred my vision, but a strange calmness grew inside me. It was the kind of calm that only comes when pain is too deep to measure. For days after that, I walked around in silence. I smiled when I needed to, laughed when expected, but inside, I was hollow. I would look at him and remember every lie. I would look at her and remember every betrayal. The hardest part wasn't the affair itself, it was knowing they thought so little of me, that they believed I was too weak to ever see, too fragile to ever fight back. At night, I cried until my pillow was soaked. I replayed every memory, every moment that now looked different through the lens of betrayal. I thought about every sacrifice I made, every piece of myself I gave to them, and I wondered if any of it had ever mattered. My heart felt shattered, and I came close to giving up, close to accepting that maybe they were right about me. But somewhere inside that brokenness, something shifted. I realized they had made one fatal mistake. They underestimated me. They mistook kindness for weakness, loyalty for fragility. They thought betrayal would destroy me, but all it did was reveal the truth. And the truth, as painful as it was, gave me power. I stopped crying and started thinking. For the first time in weeks, my mind wasn't clouded by love or hope. It was sharp, focused, and cold. I saw them clearly now, not as the people I once loved, but as liars who had used me for their own amusement. And I decided I wouldn't let them walk away unpunished. I began watching more closely, but not with the same naivety as before. I noticed every lie, every excuse, every stolen glance. I memorized their patterns. I smiled when they thought they fooled me, nodded when they fed me lies. And silently, I stored everything away. I didn't want a confrontation. I wanted a reckoning. I started gathering evidence. Screenshots of their messages when he carelessly left his phone unguarded. Notes of the times they slipped up, the excuses that didn't match. I became an actress, playing the role of the clueless girlfriend and the loyal friend, while behind the curtain I was piecing together a story they could never escape. And the more I pretended, the bolder they became. He stopped even trying to hide his distractions. She grew smug, throwing little jabs that I let slide. They believed I was still blind, still too fragile to see. They believed I would never fight back. But I was no longer the same girl who cried into her pillow at night. The pain they gave me had forged something else inside me. Something colder, sharper, unstoppable. I told myself revenge wasn't about rage, it was about justice. They needed to be exposed, not just to me, but to everyone. Their lies had thrived in the dark, but I would drag them into the light. I would let the world see them the way I did. And when that moment came, they would regret ever calling me weak. The plan wasn't clear yet, but the decision was made. I would not confront them privately. That would be too easy for them. Too safe. No, their humiliation would be public, undeniable, unforgettable. I would let them fall apart in front of the same people who once admired them. And I would be there, calm and unbroken, as everything they built together crumbled to dust. They had laughed at me for being blind. Soon, they would learn that I had been watching all along. After discovering the truth, I didn't confront them. I didn't scream, didn't cry in front of them, didn't demand explanations they would only twist into more lies. Instead, I did something that shocked even me, I smiled. I acted as if nothing had changed, as if their secret was still safe, as if I was still the same blind, trusting girl they thought I was. And they believed it. It wasn't easy. Every time he touched my hand, I wanted to pull away. Every time she called me best friend, I wanted to spit the words back at her. But I didn't. I played along, kept my mask in place, and let them grow comfortable in their illusion of control. If they thought I was weak, I would let them believe it, because that was the only way to prepare what was coming. The act became my shield. I laughed at their jokes, nodded at their excuses, and pretended I was still clueless. Meanwhile, I was collecting screenshots of late-night texts, recordings of whispered conversations, photos of the moments they slipped when they thought no one was watching. Each piece of evidence was a brick, and I was building a wall they could never climb. The more I pretended, the bolder they became. He no longer hid his distraction when we were together. His eyes drifted toward his phone, his attention elsewhere, but I just smiled sweetly and let him think I didn't notice. She dropped her mask too, her tone sharper when she spoke to me, her laughter louder when he was around. It was almost too easy to watch them expose themselves, to see them grow careless because they believed I was still blind. What they didn't know was that every careless mistake was being documented. Every cruel word, every mocking laugh, every sign of their betrayal was now mine to use. I didn't just want to confront them, I wanted to ruin them. But revenge isn't something you rush. It takes patience, timing, and precision. I thought about it constantly, planning every step in my head. I didn't want to hurt them physically. No, that would be too small, too temporary. I wanted something lasting. I wanted them to feel what I felt, exposed, humiliated, destroyed from the inside out. The opportunity came in the form of a party. A celebration that would gather all our friends, classmates, and people who had always admired them. It was the perfect stage. Public enough for the humiliation to sting, personal enough for the betrayal to cut deep. I decided that night would be the night they lost everything. In the days leading up to it, I rehearsed my mask. I practiced smiling until it looked effortless, laughed until the sound no longer betrayed my anger. I made sure they believed I was still in love, still loyal, still weak. I even went out of my way to be sweeter, kinder, more trusting than ever before. It was torture, but necessary. Because the more secure they felt, the harder their fall would be. And while I played the fool, I refined my evidence. I organized the screenshots into perfect order, compiled the recordings so they played seamlessly, even printed out some of their cruelest words to hold in my hands. Every detail had to be undeniable. Every piece had to hit them where it hurt most, their pride, their reputation, their carefully constructed image. There were nights when doubt crept in, when the pain threatened to overwhelm me. Part of me still remembered how much I had once loved him, how much I had trusted her. Part of me asked if I was going too far, if exposing them so publicly would make me just like them. But then I would read their words again, pathetic, weak, too dumb to notice, and the doubt would burn away. They hadn't just betrayed me, they had laughed at my pain. And for that, they deserved no mercy. The night before the party, I stood in front of the mirror and looked at myself. I didn't recognize the girl staring back. She wasn't broken anymore. She wasn't blind or weak. Her eyes were sharp, her jaw set. She was someone forged in betrayal, someone who had endured and survived. And she was ready. The day of the party, I dressed carefully, not to impress them, but to remind myself that I was still here, still strong, still capable of holding my head high. When I walked into the room, I carried myself with quiet confidence. They were already there, side by side, their smiles wide, their laughter filling the air. For a moment, my chest tightened, but I didn't falter. I smiled back, as if nothing was wrong, and they believed it. All night, I watched them. Watched how he leaned close to whisper in her ear. Watched how she giggled like a child, basking in the attention that was never hers to take. They thought they were untouchable, that their secret was safe. They had no idea the walls around them were already crumbling. I mingled with others, laughed when expected, pretended to drink though I barely touched the glass. My mind was fixed on the moment, the perfect timing when everything would come crashing down. I carried my phone in my hand, ready, the evidence waiting like a loaded weapon. When the music quieted for a moment, I knew it was time. I stood up, calm and composed, my heart steady despite the storm raging inside me. I looked at them, my former love, my former friend, and for the first time I felt no pain, only resolve. They had called me weak. Soon, they would learn just how wrong they were. The music faded, and the chatter softened into a hum. All eyes weren't on me yet, but they would be soon. I stood still, letting the silence gather like storm clouds, and then I cleared my throat. A few heads turned. A few whispers rippled through the room. I smiled softly, the kind of smile that masks a hurricane, and said, "I have something I'd like to share." He frowned, shifting uneasily. She tilted her head, pretending to look curious, but I caught the flicker of fear in her eyes. They didn't know what I was about to do, but they knew enough to sense danger. I raised my phone, my hand steady, and with one simple tap, the screen came alive. The room filled with their voices, his low, familiar tone, and her high, eager laugh. At first, people leaned closer, confused. But the words soon erased all doubt. "She's so pathetic. Too stupid to notice. She thinks we're her friends." Their voices echoed against the walls, sharp as knives, undeniable as the truth itself. Gasps spread like fire, faces twisted in shock, and in that instant, every mask they had worn for so long shattered. He went pale, his jaw tightening, his eyes darting to the phone in my hand as if he could will it to stop. She clutched her glass too tightly, her knuckles white, her fake smile frozen in place. But I didn't stop. I let the recording play in full, every cruel word, every mocking laugh, every dagger they had driven into my back behind closed doors. The room grew heavier with every second. People who had once admired them now stared with disgust. Friends who had believed their lies now turned away in silence. Their power, their control, their carefully constructed image, it all dissolved before their eyes. And then I spoke. Calm. Clear. Strong. They thought I was weak. They thought I wouldn't notice. They thought I wouldn't fight back. But tonight, you all know the truth. They betrayed me. They mocked me. They lied. And they laughed while they did it. My voice didn't shake. It didn't break. It carried through the room like a blade slicing clean. I wasn't pleading. I wasn't begging for sympathy. I was declaring war, and I had already won. He tried to step forward, his hand reaching out as if he could stop me. "It's not what it looks like." But the crowd cut him off with a wave of murmurs, the kind that sting more than shouts. No one believed him. No one could. The evidence was too clear, the humiliation too raw. She tried to speak too, her voice trembling. "You don't understand." I turned to her, my eyes cold. "No, I understand perfectly. You weren't just my friend. You were my sister in everything but blood. And you chose to betray me. You both did." Her mouth opened, but no words came. Only silence. Only guilt. I lowered the phone, slipping it into my pocket. I didn't need to play more. They were already finished. Their reputations, their pride, their illusion of superiority, it was gone. And the beauty of it was, I hadn't needed to raise my voice or throw a single punch. The truth alone was enough to destroy them. For a long moment, the room remained still. Then, slowly, people began to drift away from them, conversations resuming in hushed tones, eyes averted in shame or lingering in judgment. The center of attention had shifted, but not in the way they were used to. No one admired them anymore. No one envied them. They were exposed, and exposure was the harshest punishment of all. I stood taller, not out of arrogance, but out of freedom. For the first time I felt light, unchained. The weight of their betrayal was no longer mine to carry, it was theirs. He stepped toward me again, desperation creeping into his voice. "Please, just let me explain." I shook my head. "There's nothing left to explain. You had my love, and you threw it away. You had my trust, and you broke it. Now you have nothing." She tried again, her eyes shining with unshed tears. "We didn't mean." But I cut her off. "You meant every word. And now, so does everyone else." I didn't wait for a response. I didn't need one. Their downfall was already complete. I turned away, walking through the crowd, my head held high. People stepped aside for me, some offering sympathetic nods, others simply watching with wide eyes. I didn't need their pity. I didn't need their applause. I had done what I came to do, and that was enough. As I stepped outside into the cool night air, the noise of the party fading behind me, I took a deep breath. The stars above seemed brighter, the world wider, the future clearer. I was no longer trapped in the shadow of their lies. I was free. For so long, they had called me weak. They had underestimated me, mocked me, used me. But tonight proved them wrong. Tonight, I showed them that weakness was only the mask I had chosen to wear. Beneath it, I was stronger than they ever imagined. And the best part? I hadn't just taken my revenge. I had taken back myself. The silence of the night wrapped around me like a promise. This wasn't the end of my story. It was the beginning. A beginning born not from betrayal, but from the strength it forced me to find. As I walked away, I didn't look back. I didn't need to. They were behind me, where they belonged, broken by their own cruelty, buried under the weight of their own actions. And I was alive, stronger, and untouchable. Betrayal cuts deep, but revenge writes the final chapter. If you felt her strength tonight, imagine what's next. Subscribe now for more shocking stories of payback, betrayal, and unstoppable courage. Don't just watch, be part of the revenge. Hit like, share, and join our journey.